Winds howling, skies darkening, and oceans rising. Water, an instrument of chaos and destruction during a hurricane. From towering waves to relentless rain. Brace yourself for a glimpse into the power of water. WJCL 22's certified most accurate team of meteorologists is showing you how to plan, prepare, survive this hurricane season.
A one-of-a-kind look inside the plane that flies over the water and into the storms. I'll show you the one tool that gathers critical life-saving information.
The Coast Guard on high alert, bracing for impact. The critical safety measures to protect coastal communities.
When water levels rise, a bridge like this could shut down at any moment. Why the Georgia Department of Transportation says you should stay off the roadways.
Hurricane is brewing and you want to protect your home? We'll show you how to redirect stormwater away from your front door.
Rising tides and rising prices. Is your home in a high-risk flood area? The time to purchase flood insurance is right now. The wait period before it applies to your home.
You're watching The Power of Water. Plan, prepare, survive. Brought to you by Canucci EMC.
During a hurricane, the power of water is unleashed. Do you ever wonder where these storms get their strength? Right here in the Atlantic, a thunderstorm builds. If the conditions are right, a hurricane will form. The U.S. Coast Guard is hard at work, practicing rescue missions ahead of the storm. Pilots and crew members are honing their skills, rehearsing maneuvers, and refining their response training.
There's a ton of different situations that could happen. Within the past year, we've had boats sink and people end up in the water. We've had people get pulled off by riptides and getting sent offshore.
Lieutenant Tucker Williams, a pilot for the U.S. Coast Guard, says they train with rescue swimmers. They drop them into the water, planning ahead for any scenario.
So what we did was put our rescue swimmer Nick into the water to practice retrieving and rescuing a practice dummy. Gives the whole crew a little bit of practice, me for maintaining position, gives our flight mech practice for getting the aircraft in position to put the swimmer up and down.
The Coast Guard plays a crucial role in disaster response, and their preparations for hurricanes begin long before the first storm clouds gather on the horizon. As soon as a hurricane is forecasted, Petty Officer Jacob Candelaria says Coast Guard units swing into action to ensure they are ready to respond effectively.
We'll make sure to patrol out on the waters here around Tybee and just in our general AOR and make sure that we are keeping an eye on the tides, shorelines, everything like that, making sure that everyone's safe out here.
In the event of a hurricane, the Coast Guard is prepared for the worst. It is important to plan ahead and stay safe.
Honestly, the ideal situation for us is if we don't have to rescue anyone after a hurricane. Be prepared, listen to your local officials, pay attention to evacuation warnings, and at the end of the day, the Coast Guard will come out to assist you if we can, but bear in mind that we can't always fly during a hurricane.
Hurricane hunters play an essential role in keeping us safe during hurricane season. I'm inside the plane. They fly right into the heart of storms to gather critical, important data.
The Hurricane Awareness Tour made a stop in the Lowcountry to help us prepare for hurricane season. I met with the brave team of pilots and meteorologists, better known as hurricane hunters, who take to the skies for these high-stakes missions.
That is the workhorse.
One of the tools hurricane hunters utilize is the drop sound. Drop sounds are deployed from the plane directly into the storm. Jeremy Dehart is a meteorologist that is part of the data gathering team on the WC-130J aircraft.
This whole chute comes down, hits a button, and shoots out the bottom of the airplane. And then this parachute will deploy, and it trickles all the way down to the sea surface.
A small but vital instrument packed with sensors that measure temperature, wind speed and direction, pressure, and humidity. About 20 to 30 drop sounds are deployed into each storm.
You quality control that data, package it up, and send it to the National Hurricane Center via satellite communications. So the data that we gather on the airplane goes right into the weather models and then also right to the desks of the Hurricane Center forecasters so they can best make their forecasts.
Improving forecasts means better accuracy, helping you plan and survive any storm. Hurricane hunters stand ready to brave the elements throughout hurricane season to keep our community safe.
One of the most dangerous parts of hurricanes is storm surge, a potentially devastating phenomenon, resulting in storm tides reaching up to 20 feet or more. Not only is storm surge a threat at Tybee Island, it's also a threat to downtown Savannah. Storm surge is often referred to as the deadliest threat during hurricanes.
The power of water is very, very strong. It has a lot of force. So just a slow-moving water can move vehicles.
This video shows River Street in Savannah flooding after Irma in 2017.
When it comes to the hazard, obviously it's run from the water, hide from the wind.
The impact of storm surge can be devastating. Floodwaters can damage homes, roads, and infrastructures. In some cases, entire communities may be cut off from help, making evacuation difficult or even impossible.
It really is your single day deadliest hazard associated with any hurricane. And being in the low country, very low elevation around here, you are very vulnerable to storm surge.
If you receive an evacuation order, it's best to get out sooner rather than later. Storm surge can begin to rise the day before a storm hits.
Hurricanes are one of the most powerful forces on Earth, and we categorize these storms based on their wind speed. So why is the power of water not a factor in determining the danger?
It's difficult to give a hurricane a certain one specific number that talks about that storm surge, the hazard.
Throughout history, storm surge has been the leading cause of death during hurricanes, and years ago, it was a factor in classifying a storm.
The National Hurricane Center says that storm surge is not a reliable source to measure a hurricane's impact because environmental conditions can change the height of storm surge. Now, forecasters and meteorologists use radar readings and information gathered from the hurricane hunters to classify hurricanes as so.
A Category 1 hurricane has winds starting at 74 miles per hour and can cause dangerous winds and some damage. A Category 2 hurricane has winds up to 110 miles per hour and can cause excessive damage. Major hurricanes are Category 3 and higher. A Cat 3 has winds up to 129 miles per hour and poses a high risk of injury or death. A Category 4 has winds of 130 to 156 miles per hour and could cause catastrophic damage. And finally, any storm that has winds over 156 miles per hour is classified as a Category 5 hurricane. Homes can be swept away and people, livestock, and pets are at a very high risk of injury or death.
It's important to remember that it doesn't take a major hurricane to have major impacts because most of the fatalities come from water hazards.
With hurricane season fast approaching, all along our coast, communities are preparing for potential storms. I spoke to a local insurance agency who explains the financial impact of flooding during hurricanes and how flood insurance can protect a home just like this one. Flood insurance offers homeowners financial protection against flood-related damages that may not be covered by standard homeowners insurance policies.
Most people may not realize that the flooding as an event is not covered under your homeowner's policy. You should purchase a separate flood insurance policy from an agent to cover your home in case there's accumulation of too much rain.
Experts urge homeowners to review their insurance policies and consider purchasing flood insurance, especially if you live in a high-risk area.
It's a good idea to at least take a photograph of your insurance declaration pages. Those are the first few pages of your policy that would show who your insurance company is, your effective date of your policy.
By taking proactive steps, you can protect your home and family from the destructive forces of flooding during a hurricane. And remember, though you can buy flood insurance at any time, there's a 30-day wait period before it applies to your home.
Thanks, Jada. When water levels rise, roads close, the critical reason behind bridge closures during a hurricane. Plus, a look at evacuation routes and how to hunker down if you plan to ride out the storm.
You're watching The Power of Water, brought to you by Canucci EMC. You're watching The Power of Water, Plan, Prepare, Survive, brought to you by Canucci EMC.
A bridge like this could shut down at any moment during a storm. I'm standing under the Thunderbolt Bridge spanning over the Wilmington River. The Georgia Department of Transportation says you should stay off the roadways.
If water does get up to the bottom of the bridge, to those beams, we shut it down.
When a storm hits, the Georgia Department of Transportation looks at storm surge and rising water levels.
That's due to we can't see what is in the current, the speed of the current, and what type of material could hit the bridge and damage the bridge.
Officials also look at wind speeds to close the Talmadge Bridge in Savannah and the Sidney Lanier Bridge in Brunswick.
Due to the height of the bridge is when gale force winds, which is 39 to 45 miles per hour, we have to shut those bridges.
Bridges are also closed strictly to keep drivers safe. The wind does not affect the structures.
These bridges are built to withstand over 300 mile per hour winds. The closure of these two cable stay bridges is for the safety of the motoring public.
GDOT staff in Southeast Georgia works with the Operations Center in Atlanta to coordinate closures.
The department has a hurricane plan.
Officials give drivers as much notice as possible. The Georgia Department of Transportation tells us they post on social media and add messages to digital overhead signs.
We try to give the public as much notice as possible, but as we all know here on the coastal Georgia, these conditions, weather conditions, can change very quickly. So we try to get that information out there, but safety is our top priority.
In the event of a storm, we'll have a list of bridge closures on our website, WJCL.com.
A hurricane is brewing. Before the storm strikes, you might be asking yourself, do you hunker down at home or do you evacuate? First, you should listen to what state and city officials are telling you. They are in charge of managing evacuations.
Everyone must be safe, and everyone must be prepared.
Long story short, if you're in a mandatory evacuation zone, you should leave. But if you're not ordered to evacuate, preparation is key.
Sandbags can redirect stormwater and debris flows away from your front door. Don't stack sandbags in the same direction. You want to stagger them like bricks. And if you have a tarp, you can put that down too. It's important to make an emergency kit now. You want to make sure that you have water, food, a first aid kit, and a whistle. You can use a whistle to signal for help in the event of an emergency. Take refuge inside a small room, a closet, or a bathroom. Put as many walls between you and the outside as you can, and stay away from windows and glass doors.
If state and city officials announce evacuation orders, leaving is the safest option.
We want to make sure that everyone gets that evacuation transportation as soon as possible.
Chatham County has 3 separate evacuation zones. Zone A is anything east of the Truman Parkway. Zone B is west of the Truman but east of I-95, and Zone C is everything west of I-95. In the Lowcountry, the 2 main evacuation routes are Highway 278 and Highway 21. For those on Hilton Head Island, you'll take 278 to I-95. In Beaufort, you'll take Highway 21. If you don't have transportation outside of Chatham County, you can catch a Chatham area transit bus, free of charge, to the Savannah Civic Center.
Hurricane preparations look a little different when you have a furry friend of your own. Luckily, the Palmetto Animal League offers some helpful tips and tricks to ensure that you evacuate with your pet safely. You'll want to keep the plan simple. Start by finding pet-friendly hotels or destinations and ensure that your pet's information is as up-to-date as possible.
So we recommend that everyone, late spring, before June 1st, that we spend a little bit of time organizing and preparing for bad weather events. They just want to be with you anyway. So if it's a 14-hour ride in the car to your evacuation hotel, they're happy.
Put together a pet disaster preparedness kit. Items like their carrier, toys, leashes, and any medications. Also, enough food and water to last at least 3 to 14 days.
And these are 2 things you honestly might not think about. You want to have up-to-date photos of your pet. either printed out or digital or both if you can. That way if the worst does happen and you're trying to find your pet, you have what you need. And also, and I know we can do this digital or you can do a printout, but you want to make sure you have your pet's vet records.
And in the event you find a lost pet, make sure to take it to the nearest vet or shelter once the weather clears. That way the staff can check for identification and reunite them with their family. Plenty of shelters like POW offer microchipping services should you need it.
In the wake of a devastating hurricane, there's another storm brewing. Scammers ready to prey on you. The red flags to watch out for. Plus, power crews are on standby, how they're preparing, and what steps you can take to survive the storm.
You're watching The Power of Water, brought to you by Canucci EMC. You're watching The Power of Water, Plan, Prepare, Survive, brought to you by Canucci EMC.
In the aftermath of a hurricane, scammers are trying to take advantage of you. That's why our chief consumer correspondent, Jeff Rawson, is putting together a list of red flags to watch out for.
Yeah, after a hurricane or a severe storm, whether you need a small repair or a big one, you need to know what to look out for. That's why we're here. Bad actors and scammers, I can guarantee, will be out. They will try to get your money. So let's go through some of those red flags. First, watch out for storm chasers that come in with those high pressure sales tactics. These people usually come from out of state and want you to agree to this great deal they have for you right there on the spot. It's only good right if you say yes right now. Instead, I want you to go online to your state's licensing board for contractors. Make sure they're registered and licensed with the state. You can also ask your insurance company for a recommendation. You should be talking to them anyway, your insurance company, before you do any type of repair work on your house. Which brings us to the next red flag. Scammers sometimes ask you to sign over your insurance check. Hey, you get that money from the insurance company? Just give it to me, we got it. Don't do that. The insurance check could have more in it than that contractor needs. So if you sign the whole check over, chances are you may not get that extra money refunded. It's better just to get an invoice from the contractor, pay them directly with the funds you got from the insurance company. And finally, one more red flag to look out for, someone asking you to pay for everything up front. The best way to pay a contractor is through staggered payments. That way you can inspect the work at different milestones. One more tip before I go, I'm full of those tips. Make sure you have a signed contract that outlines everything, from the payment amounts to the guarantees, the milestones, the start date, the completion date. You have no recourse if you don't get things on paper. Hope this helps. Back to you.
It's important to remember that if a hurricane is just offshore or hundreds of miles away, it can still stir up trouble along our coast.
Strong winds from tropical cyclones can cause large waves and elevate rip current risks. Rip currents can occur rain or shine, and these powerful channels of moving water can catch you off guard and pull even the strongest swimmer away from the shore.
So when hurricanes come through, they push a lot more swell in the water, and they also just push a lot more water up the coast. So there's a lot more water moving in and out, and that just creates stronger rips and a higher chance for rips to pop up because it's moving a lot more sand.
The most important thing to remember, if you get caught in a rip current, do not panic. You won't get pulled underwater, but it's important to not swim directly back to shore. Either try and swim parallel to the beach and out of the current, or wait it out, tread water, and signal for help from a lifeguard. If you're heading out to the beach, remember, never swim alone. Swim near a lifeguard and be on the lookout for narrow gaps of darker and calmer water between breaking waves. This may indicate the presence of a rip current.
You can check WJCL 22 beach forecasts for ocean and beach conditions and check with lifeguards for any other hazards.
The rain is pouring, the wind is whipping, and now you're without power. Dominion Energy and Georgia Power are prepared to get your power back up and running.
We're committed to making sure that we provide our customers with safe and reliable energy.
Safety is our number one priority.
Dylan Lee, an engineering supervisor with Georgia Power, tells us that power crews will work through the event as long as it's safe.
As soon as we can get out there safely, start getting eyes on some of the damage and getting some of our crews in the area to start making repairs the quicker we can.
When a storm hits and the power goes out in your home, make sure to have a flashlight and batteries. Georgia Power recommends following these simple steps when a storm hits. Keep freezer doors closed and sealed. Frozen food can keep up from 2 to 3 days. You should also turn a porch or front light on. This helps power crews know when repair work has been successful. Also, unplug any appliances that might turn on automatically when power has been restored. This helps from overloading any circuits after the storm. Paul Fisher, the Communications Strategic Advisor for Dominion Energy, tells us that they plan year-round for hurricane season.
That includes things like inspections and maintenance on our facilities and equipment all across our service territory. That's going on year-round. So in those days or weeks leading up to a storm, it's really about ensuring that we have the resources, the equipment, the vehicles, the personnel that we need, and we have those resources staged and ready to mobilize as we continue to monitor the track of that storm.
In Georgia and South Carolina, there are power crews staged across the states, ready to be dispatched.
The most important thing we want our customers to remember during any severe weather event, certainly during hurricane season, is to be prepared, stay connected, and stay safe.
People often ask me, are the tropics going to be active this year? I have an exclusive prediction ready, which includes this season's coastal hotspots. Here's a look at the 2024 hurricane season forecast.
Powerful winds, torrential downpours, flash flooding. Many people ask, how can we predict an entire hurricane season months in advance? First, we use a forecasting method called the LRC. Think of it as our secret ingredient. I've used this forecasting technique to make accurate long-range forecasts for the last 17 years. We also consider other important factors when making our forecast, like El Nino or La Nina and sea surface temperatures. After studying the factors in play for the upcoming hurricane season, our analysis is complete. Let's take a look at the WJCL 2024 hurricane season forecast. We have picked out several key indicators from last fall using the LRC. These systems originated in the Gulf of Mexico and may play an important role when projecting forward to this season. Our forecast has pinpointed coastal hotspots. These represent areas with a higher than average chance of seeing a landfalling tropical system this season. The first hotspot covers areas from near Charleston, South Carolina to the Outer Banks of North Carolina. The next hotspot covers the Gulf Coast from parts of Louisiana to South Florida. With multiple systems of interest in the Gulf of Mexico, this hotspot has the highest chance of seeing direct impacts during the 2024 season. Outside of the forecast hotspots, tropical activity is still possible, but the chances are a bit lower. For the entire Atlantic Basin, WJCL 22 is forecasting an above-average hurricane season, with 16 to 20 named storms, 8 to 10 hurricanes, and 3 to 5 major hurricanes. An average season produces 14 named storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes. The first named storm this year will be Alberto, then Beryl. Hurricane season runs from June 1st to November 30th.
This special is a reminder to plan ahead, prepare now, and survive this hurricane season. As always, our certified most accurate team of meteorologists will be with you every step of the way before, during, and after the storm.